You came back. All right, we're ready. Inverses for each of these. So this is the same thing we did on the front, only now we don't have to worry about logs because we're not undoing exponentials. What are we undoing? Well, let's look at a few. I actually want to do all three of those because I think all three of those have a similarity to them, and yet each one of them is a little bit different in terms of the order of operation that we need to accomplish it in. PEMDAS. Always got to think about PEMDAS. So I have parentheses. I know you don't see it there, but I do. I have parentheses, I have exponent, I have multiplication, and I have addition. But I can't get to all the stuff inside until I kind of undo it or kind of take off my shoe here. So the opposite of square rooting, so I have, actually let's go ahead and see. If I were to do the problem, I would multiply by 3, and then I would add 1, and then I would square it. So going backwards, the opposite of square rooting is squaring. The opposite of adding is subtracting, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So that would be my answer. How else could you do this? You could flip the x and the y, so I have the x there, and the y here, and the first thing you'd have to do is square it, and then you would subtract, and then you would divide. So same thing either way. Let's look at this one here. First thing I need to undo is the 3, so again, I'm kind of thinking it as in terms of x is equal to 3y plus 1. Why did I do that? Because the inverse is the flipping of the x's and the y's. They are switching. And the inputs become the outputs, if you will. Let's make this a little bit larger so we can see this a little bit better. So the first thing I would have to do is undo the 3, and that is multiplication, so I do division to undo it. And then I would undo the square root, which is squaring it, which really gives me x squared over 9. And then I would undo the minus 1. Now, thinking about it this way, first I would do the stuff inside, which would be add 1, and then I would square root, and then I would times by 3. So to undo things, I divide by 3, and then square, and then minus 1, the order of operations. Again, we'll do this both ways. X is equal to 3y plus 1. Some of you might be saying, why are you finding the y, and why are we switching it? This is y. So when I switch them, that becomes the x and that becomes the y. If I were to just do the problem, I would square root first, exponent, and then multiply by 3, and then add 1. So the opposite would be minus 1, and then divide by 3, and then square, which really gives me 9 on the bottom, and x minus 1 squared. You could multiply that out as well to get a nice x squared minus 2x plus 1 over 9 as another answer. So either of those are fine. Now, if I were undoing these things, I would subtract 1, which I did, and then I would divide 3, which I did, and then I would undo the square root, which is the squaring. So that, my friends, is inverse.